Death is part of life. However, some people think death is opposite of life and fear death. The fear of death is the most common fear most people have. So is it possible to overcome the fear of death and live at each moment and live life at peace? Let's find out from today's verse 50 of Tao Te Ching. Hi, welcome back to OneUs. Today it is day 50 and we will be looking at verse 50 from Tao Te Ching. As usual, let's observe a few seconds of silence. Thank you. So now let's get started. Between birth and death, 3 in 10 are followers of life. 3 in 10 are followers of death. And people just passing from birth to death also number 3 in 10. Why is this? Because they live their lives on the gross level. So in the first paragraph, Laotzu talks about how people live their life. So he talks about 3 types. 1, the followers of life. 2, followers of death. The third one, who hurries between birth and death. So now let's try to understand what Laotzu means by each type. The first one is followers of life. The people who live their life to the fullest and reach the old age and die. That's the first category or the first type, followers of life. The second one is followers of death. So when I say followers of death, it can be referred to early death. So what I mean by early death is it can be by any accident or any kind of an unfortunate event. Or it can also be someone who abuses their life. They don't value their life. They follow some kind of a harmful way to lead their life so that they reach an early death. So they are the one who are followers of the death. And then the third category it talks about is the one who's passing from birth to death. So what Laotzu means here by passing from birth to death is people who live their life in a constant rush. When I say rush, they're kind of desperate to achieve something in life. So they're constantly running and doing something instead of taking moment for themselves and observing and living one with the nature. They're constantly stressed. So instead of being desperate to get things done, what Laotzu means is take time out and be one with the nature. Instead of hurrying from birth to death, take moment to live the life. And that is a way. And then he ends the first paragraph with, why is this? Because they live their life on the gross level. What he means by gross level is people who doesn't relate themselves beyond the physical entity. So that way they don't see the true nature. Instead, they prefer is physical comfort and physical well-being. And then that's also the reason why they fear the death. And that's what Laotzu means in the first paragraph. Then he goes on to say, those who know how to live walk abroad without fear of rhinoceros or tigers. They will not be wounded in battle. For in them, rhinoceros find no place to thrust its horn, nor the tigers to use its claws, and the weapon no place to pierce. Why is this? Because they have no place for death to enter. It is quite intriguing and mystic verse. So to understand this verse, we need to relate ourselves beyond the physical entity or the physical being. Start seeing ourselves as an energy being or a light being who is one with the Tao. The very nature is a one with the source, that the physical being is just like a visitor to this planet Earth and just we are living and experiencing the human condition. That's all it is. So when we don't relate ourselves with the physical being, when we relate ourselves as a light being or energy being, how we can get hurt? No one can hurt us. No rhinoceros, nor tiger or any kind of weapon can hurt us. That's what Laotzu means here. The other way to look at this verse is, from a religion point of view, they call it as soul. What they mean by soul is, the death is for the physical body and not for the soul. I'm sure you must have heard it. So what they're essentially meaning is, The death is for the physical body, and the soul, which is one with the nature or one with the Tao, it always lives. And the same thing is what I can relate in this verse. That is, the spiritual beings having a human experience which is bound by the physical body. The moment we start relating ourselves as a spiritual being or the energy beings, no one can hurt us, and the death is also insignificant. And that's what this whole verse means. So to summarize this verse, what Laotzu is pointing out is, he points out to three types of living, and then he asks us to be the fourth type. So what is the three type is the followers of life who is fully engaged in the physical comfort and they reach old age and die. The second one is who is self-destructive in nature, whereas they abuse their body and they abuse their being and then they rush to early death. And the third one is always in a hurry from birth to death to accomplish something, whereas they forget to live each moment. So whereas the Laotzu is asking to relate us with the fourth type or the fourth category, who is relate to live life in each moment and then relate ourselves as a light being, as a spiritual being, or even if you like to call it a soul, and the way that you exist always. So the death is so insignificant and no one can hurt us. So when we start relating ourselves as a spiritual being or an energy being beyond the physical form, we no more have to fear death. And when we don't have to fear death, of course, we don't have to think that someone will hurt us. That's what the summary of verse 50. With that, we come to an end of verse 50. And one actionable thought for today is, today we are going to do a small exercise. Whereas we are going to detach ourselves from our physical being. And this exercise, I'm referring it from the book Change Your Thought, Change Your Life, where Vandaya asks us to detach ourselves from a physical body and imagine our physical body lying on the floor. Just observe it. So that way we become an observer of our physical body instead of relating it and being in it. So why I found this little profound is, it's kind of a detachment that we can bring in towards our physical body. And then the moment we start relating ourselves as an energy being or a light being, then we will be one with the Tao. So try to detach as often as possible from the physical body and then try to see you're beyond the body. And that way we can overcome the fear of death and live each moment in peace. With that thought, let's conclude day 50 and then talk to you tomorrow. Thank you.